Good afternoon and welcome to another Rams Review podcast preview. This week we're game 5. We're back after the international break and we are joined by Tom Taylor, who is a season ticket fan of his beloved Cardiff City, who visit Pride Park Stadium 3 o'clock this Saturday. Tom, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
No, I really appreciate you joining us at this short notice. So, Cardiff City, we haven't come across each other for a while. Looking at your stats last year, you came 12th. How did sort of last year go in general for the season in the Championship?
To be honest, it was much of kind of what we wanted on paper going in, and kind of what we really expected as well. We had back-to-back relegation battles, which I think was just, really quite draining on us as supporters. And going into a new season with a new manager that we'd never heard of before. Kind of the hope was if we could just have a season where we finish mid-table, nothing really big or controversial happens on or off the pitch, that would be absolutely fine for us. Saying you want it is one thing, when it actually happens is another. So there did end up being times where, his season was pretty much done by March. There wasn't really anything much to look forward to with a relegation battle. It's not pleasant, but there's a little bit of excitement there. There's a feeling that, your games do have a lot of meaning, whereas with us, it's kind of whose promotion pushes and parties could we potentially upset this week. So overall, like with my, with a kind of more of a wise hat on, I'd say it was a pretty good scenario for us last year, even though the football wasn't great. At quite large portions. Overall, I think mid-table was definitely fair and something that shouldn't really be sniffed at. But the other side, it would have been nice just to have maybe something to go for.
Do you think that there's a hangover from that then that's coming to this season? Because obviously the start you've had couldn't have gone any worse, to be honest. 1 point on the board, languishing at the bottom of the division, and for a club of your size, probably not expected. Where is it, or why has it started so flat as such? Is it a hangover from last year, or is it new personnel? Sort of put to us Derby fans out there why Cardiff has started so poorly.
So the football hasn't been too great, is the ultimate, I think. We've had a bit of a change of personnel with players. I think they're good players myself, but it's going to take a little bit of time for everyone to gel and kind of understand each other. And it's a bit of an easy way to kind of, pin our bad results. But I think we've had such a tough start. That we've played really great teams so far. We had Sunderland at home, first game of the season, lost that, and that, to be honest, that performance is, even though we lost, I thought we played quite well, and it's kind of got better as time's gone on with the season they've had so far. We've had Burnley away, which was, it's going to be one of the toughest games for probably most teams in the division this year. We had Swansea away, which is a derby, and we never particularly play well at Swansea. And had Middlesbrough at home, who could be in the playoff contention this season. Then after this, we got Leeds at home. So, that's a really, really tough way to start the season. And kind of the realistic thinking around it was also maybe the worst case scenario was that if we go into the international break with 0 points, then, that would just be an absolutely horrific start. But it's very, very possible as well. But to get 1 point is a teeny bit better than maybe what a lot of us were expecting, but it's still not good. But yeah, I think probably kind of the strength of the schedule so far. Hopefully when it kind of peters out a little bit, and the fact that we got such hard games out of the way this early in the season, going forward, hopefully we can, kind of take the rest of it in our stride a little bit. And we got another few patches which are quite tricky, but yeah, it's been a bit of a mix of things, and I just hope that we can snap out of it soon because it can spiral very quickly.
Well, it can, and always they always say that a worse start is always a difficult start to continue with it and sort of progress up the league. Sometimes people have a very flat start, but looking at some of the results that you've had, like I said, it was 5-0 at Burnley, I believe,
Yeah.
and looking at the stats for the actual game, it wasn't great. And like you said, in fact, probably most sides will go to Burnley this year and get absolutely nothing. So, looking at the Middlesbrough game, you went toe to toe with them, really, pretty much. Looking at the stats and shots and what have you, was it that close a game? Because obviously we played Borough and they pretty much played us off the park for 75% of it. We had that breakaway, we got the goal, we defended well and managed to hold on to the result. And we thought then that Borough were going to be there or thereabouts, but their form has been inconsistent as well. So when I personally saw that they'd gone to your place and took a 2-0 victory, I'll be honest, even with you in the position you were, I thought that was quite a surprise. Where did it sort of go wrong in that particular game?
I think just too many players had off days. The attack wasn't particularly great. That's been, one of the kind of poor points of our season so far. Is at that kind of striker position is we've kind of struggled to get one person nailed down in it all season so far. So the attack wasn't particularly brilliant. Substitutions again were just a bit strange. It's the one thing that you can criticize Errol Bullock for, and it's not just this year. It happened a lot last year as well. He'll make like strange substitutions or just wait far too late to bring good players on. So with the Swansea game, every substitution we made, we got stronger. Um, but it's been the complete opposite at times as well, where he'll take off maybe better players, ones who come on and don't have the same kind of impact. Um, we had some decent uh, performers in that Middlesbrough game, and losing Darland to injury so early as well. Um, in the games that he's played so far, he's looked really solid. And I hope he's fit in time for this weekend because that'll be a really big loss if we have him out for too long.
Well, that leads us on nicely to my next question, which is your squad and its depth. Um, I had a browse of it before we went live, and I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of names there I certainly don't recognise, and probably this will be the same for most Derby fans, and obviously vice versa. With the Derby squad, like looking at Joel Bagan, I wouldn't like to meet him down a dark alley, that's for sure. Um, his his picture alone is petrifying.
I know it's a
Um,
scary photo,
it's a
isn't
scary photo, and anyone
it?
who wants to see this photo, go on the Cardiff City website and look at their team. And he's a defender, wears 23, and wow, you do not want to meet this guy anywhere because I think you'd come off worse. So the squad, I was just browsing through it now, and Callum Chambers is a familiar name. Has this been put together quite recently under the new regime, new management, or are these players that have been with the team for a while? Is there a case of too many cooks have come in through the door into the kitchen too early, or all at the same time, and it just haven't gelled together, or is it a case of budget is as budget is, and you can only get what you can afford?
It's a bit of both, really. So last year we had a lot of big influx of players coming in. So it's Aaron Ramsey came back last summer, and we got a couple of Greek internationals come through as well. The Manolis Tsiopis and Dimitrios Goutas. Um, Also two fairly scary looking blokes. You only get the time to look at their photos as well.
Yeah, them.
Um,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and this summer as well, like we have had quite a bit more of an influx. But last year we were under a transfer ban, so a lot of the business we did kind of came through loans. So Carlin Grant was on a loan. Famara Zizou was on a loan in January. So we had some. Uh, I mean, Zizou was pretty rubbish for us. Like we had players come in, but it was all basically on a temporary basis, and it's kind of hard to build from that. Um, this year now we were actually able to spend a bit of money and get some more players in. And from what we've seen so far, a lot of them do look quite decent. and I'm pretty pleased with the business that we've done. So Chris Willock, he's done it at championship level before. He's been a bit of a shining light in what's been quite a poor attack so far this season. Callum Robinson, we've had for a couple of years now, but he's feeling a bit like a new signing. He had a really strong pre-season, and he's had some of the best minutes he's had in a Cardiff shirt for quite some time. So hopefully, I think as Errol kind of discovers what his best team is, that's just players can kind of gel together, and the more youth players can be integrated as well, because we've got quite a talented young sort of core coming through at the minute. I think as it goes on, if we can kind of find that right balance of a squad, I think we could still be a decent team this year. But I can see why, people might raise an eyebrow or two at me saying that, considering we're bottom of the league and only have 1 point.
But yeah, and I get that, and that's not always the case, is it? Teams can be the unluckiest teams in the world, and I remember the likes of Leicester City when they got relegated from the Championship into League One, and I think they had about 7 defeats all season, but they just couldn't buy a win. It was draw after draw. So no, I understand that point. So give me two names that Derby fans should be wary of and look out for on Saturday that could give you the edge in a crucial game.
So I'll go with Ruben Colwill and Ollie Tanner. They've been coming off the bench the last few games, but each time they have, in my opinion, have been probably some of our best players on the field. Colwill's come through the academy, and has been kind of involved with the squad the last couple of years. But it's kind of the feeling now with myself and other Cardiff fans that this could be his breakthrough kind of season. He scored an absolutely brilliant goal against Southampton in the cup a few weeks ago. Absolute screamer from about 25 yards, I think it was, hit the underside of the crossbar, and then about one of those perfect ones where I love goals where they hit the crossbar first before going in. Um, and he's been capped for Wales quite a few times. He might even play against Montenegro tonight. But he's one definitely to keep an eye on. And Ollie Tanner as well came on against Swansea and sort of changed the game a little bit. He's always kind of played well against Swansea. It's who he got his first goal against. But again, I think he needs that. They both need to have a solid run in the team. I think they both need to start, not only because we play better when they're on the field, but it'll do their confidence a world of good as well. So I'd say definitely Ruben Colwell and Ollie Tanner will be two to look out for this weekend, hopefully.
And on the reverse of that, you look at the Derby squad, and obviously we're new to the league after 2 years being in an absolute awful league that is League One, and I don't envy anybody that drops into there. And Cardiff have had their stint in there many years. You look at the Derby squad, what we've seen now, and we've obviously brought in more transfers through the transfer window. Does it scare you, or does it surprise you on the way that Derby have started? And if so, who sort of stands out for you as players to watch that could rip Cardiff apart?
So yeah, your start's really impressed me. To be honest, to come up from League One to the Champions squad, and I'm surprised at just how many sort of ex-Cardiff players are in there. Um, and I think that's probably where
So that's the Cardiff team, and obviously we'll keep an eye out for those two players that you've mentioned. Looking at the Derby start and the squad, who's impressed you so far, and what's your actual thoughts personally on the start, and where do you expect Derby to sort of be this year?
I think it's a good team. You've had a really decent start. Quite shocked, to be honest. Maybe that's a bit of ignorance from my end, but League One into the Championship is quite a difficult step up to make sometimes. If you do it right, it can be brilliant. If you get it wrong, then it can be a bit of a disaster. Um, but yeah, so far I've been quite impressed. There's obviously quite a few ex-Cardiff players in there. They're ones who kind of worry me for this weekend. Because it's always we have whenever players who used to play for us play against us again, 9 times out of 10 they usually play quite well. So expect Mendes, Lang, and Nelson if they play to probably have the best performances of the season because that's just how football works. To be honest, at the start of the year, I thought that Derby would be one of the three to go down. But to be honest, as this season's go on, it's obviously still quite early days, but I I think you I think you'll be okay. Probably around a mid-table position, about maybe a 14th, 15th, around that sort of position. But yeah, no, I have been impressed with what I've seen so far.
Just while we're on that subject, Ibui Adams, you let him go to us, and we were shocked to be honest because he came on loan to us from you last season, and changed our season. He had the biggest impact of any player probably in a Derby team over nigh on a decade with the short stint that he was with us. Why has he not been given that role at Cardiff to be what he is, which is a fantastic defensive holding midfielder? He's not a ball player. He's never going to be one of these guys that will play through the channels and break lines with wonderful passing. He's an out and out grit determined chap who just looks to break down play and get stuck in. Why hasn't it worked for him at Cardiff? Because I think it was a great loss for you and a great coup for us.
Yeah, I agree. It's a shame. It just never really worked out. With Adams, I think part of it was the fact we didn't really utilize him as well as he could be. The fact that we had more defensive minded plays in the midfield, so we were almost kind of expecting him to do that, kind of be more creative, that creative outlet. Which it never really happened. He got unlucky with injury as well a few times, really unlucky with injury. I think he got I think he got quite a bad one, like 5 minutes into his debut in pre-season, like the summer that he signed. So it's a shame because I really would have liked it to have worked out for him. He seems like a really likable character, and the way he's been at Derby essentially, transformed your season second half of last year and was key in you guys going up. I would have loved it to have worked at Cardiff for him, but that's just the way it is with football sometimes. Unfortunately, you have players kind of just fit other systems better, and I think with Adams, it was just a case of that Derby's system kind of played to his strengths a bit more than they did at Cardiff.
And added to that, another guy that's joined the team at Derby this last couple of weeks, Nat Phillips, who obviously was at Cardiff last year. What was his half of the season like there? Because I think he played 15 or 16 games second half of the season. And did he improve the team? Was he definitely an asset?
Oh, I'd say so, definitely. He was one of our best defenders last season in the time that he was here. He really kind of solidified our back line a bit, and we were excited when he came in. We had Jonathan Panzo on loan from Nottingham Forest the first half of the season, and it didn't work out, and he never really played that much for us. So to have replaced him essentially with Phillips was perfect, and the impact he had while he was here. I don't think we could compliment him enough really as Cardiff fans, and I think for Derby that's going to be such a good signing for you guys, and an important one as well. Like the fact you can have such maturity and experience and have played at such a high level to get that in the Championship is kind of similar to the Callum Chambers sign in that aspect. It's quite rare that you can get a player like that, and then when they come along, it's just exciting because it's a known name, but that he can back it up as well with performances.
No, I agree, and I think he's been brought in to, excuse me, give Derby an option of a back three with obviously Nelson, who, just for the record, has not missed a minute yet since he's been with Derby. He's played every single minute in both League One and the Championships. That sort of tells
Well,
you, and obviously he's Derby's Player of the Year as well. So um, the guy's been a stalwart. and just lets his talking be seen on the football pitch with the way he works. The guy's a talent, and we're thrilled to have him. I think Nat Phillips will bring a bit of balance. I think Cashin is still as talented as he potentially is. He still has these games where he tends to get a bit wayward and out of position where, like you said, sometimes experience and knowledge is the key to success of staying in the championship. So just a quick summarise of the championship as you see it as a Cardiff fan. Who's your top three pick for going up this year?
I think top two so far from what I've seen could end up right in itself. I think Burnley will go up as champions again. I think far and away they have probably the best squad in the championship this year. Um, Second place I think is a bit more tough to call, but I do think it'll be Leeds. Um, they've been a bit, a bit rocky so far. But overall, I think they will kind of come good. It'd be very Leeds for them just to not go up. After I've
I
said
don't
that,
care. I don't care
but
about that. They could be as Leeds as they want.
but I think they will probably end up going up. And playoffs is always tricky, but I think Coventry. I don't know why. I just have a feeling about them. They've been close in years gone by. They were near abouts there last season. Obviously, they got to the final. I just the fact that they've managed to keep on to some players as well. I, I just I have a feeling about Coventry in the playoffs this year. So I think that'd be my three to go up.
And the bottom three, which I think's more tricky in some way, because obviously, like you said, we look at the Burnley team, which is valued at 220 odd million, and Leeds has spent 195 million, which is ludicrous. And
That's
how they're getting,
insane.
yeah, how they're getting away with that, who knows? And you look at the way Derby retreated, and yeah, we had an absolute awful owner at the time who basically nearly destroyed the club and we went out of it, into extinction. So Leeds is an interesting one, and I tend to agree with you. I think there'll be a dark horse in the top two, but the bottom three, you're there at the moment, and hopefully you won't stay there for long. Do you envisage you staying there, or do you believe that there's three worse clubs than yourself?
No, I don't think we'll stay there. I think once our schedule gets a little bit easier, we'll kind of show what we can do this year. Um, Relegation is quite a tough one. I've chopped and changed so much just since the start of the season of who I think is going to end up going down. If I had to call it now, I still think Oxford are going to go down, even though they've had such a good start. I know that might be controversial, but I don't know. I don't see them keeping this momentum up, unfortunately for them. Um, I'm still kind of bordering on Plymouth to go down, even though they've managed to keep some big players. I still just don't think they're that great a team. Again, I don't like talking bad about clubs just when I've like no reason to dislike
It's
them. But
it's an opinion based on what you've seen.
yeah,
We know
yeah,
that this isn't because of animosity or the fact that you have a particular grievance with the club.
no,
It's
no.
a supporter looking at what he's seen as a fan of the championship. So who would be your third then?
I still think Blackburn as well. They've lost uh Schmodix, which is huge. Um, and to me haven't really done too much in the transfer window where I think, yeah, they've lost a big player, but they've definitely done enough. Again, they've had an okay start, but from kind of my outside looking in, I don't really see it carrying on. I can see it turning quite south quite quickly for them, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree with you with certainly two of them. I think Oxford will start strong, but they will pitter. I think their squad isn't as good as some of the signings they've had. I believe that s- strength in depth isn't there for them. I believe Plymouth will go down because their manager is bloody awful, to be completely honest. He pulled the wool over a lot of people's eyes at Derby because of the
Yeah,
situation we're in. Anyone could have managed the club at minus 21 points and boosted the morale, and you can play as many war songs and tributes to spur on players, but the reality is he the way he left the club and quickly ran off to another challenge, I thought was
Yeah.
nothing. But there's obviously stories behind that. The fact that they thought he was being paid 95 grand a year, sorry, a week from Red 32, but we'll put that to one side. That's an allegation, and you know, I'm sure that things will be fine for him. But I do believe Plymouth are just in general a not very good team. And I'll say that. I'll be straight. I'll say that to Plymouth when we do the preview there. And because at the end of the day, it's an opinion, and I'm sure that people will look at Derby and think the same. So finally, Tom, your prediction for Saturday, Prior Park will be 30,000 plus. We're a football in town, although we're a city. We like to be classed as a town. Where do you see the game going, and how do you see the result being?
I think it's going to be really tough. The international break did come at the right time for us now that we've had a couple of weeks off to kind of reassess, go over performances. Hopefully, um, Errol and his management team have done quite a bit of watching of highlights of our players and seeing kind of the patterns between who's been performing the best from the bench. So hopefully we can put out as best a team as possible. If we do that, and it is a big if, it is the perfect opportunity, I think, for us. Not to be disrespectful to Derby, to kind of get out of this poor form. Because I think out of the first 6 games of the season, it is probably the easiest of the lot on paper. So I'm going very much with the heart on this one. And I think we'll kind of put an end to this pretty horrid run that we've been on. And I'm going to go with a 2-0 Cardiff City win.
Tom, you've got to back your team, and I'm the same.
Got to do
I'm always an
it.
optimist. I think that you'll be. I don't know if you've seen the highlights of Derby play Borough. Sorry, not Borough, Bristol City last game out, where we pretty much ripped them apart in the second half. And I think one thing that I will say to you as a Cardiff fan is if there's any fear that you should have of Derby, is their pace is ridiculous. They've got 2 or 3 guys who are just almost Olympic sprinters, with Mandis Lang being one. Um, and obviously Mr. Jackson himself is basically ripping up the form book and FIFA and adding 10 to his score every week. So I'm actually going to go for the same result, but on the reverse. I think Derby will get through you. I think it will start tight. I just think that we've got a lot of confidence at the moment. And I think confidence is massive so early in the season, especially for a club who's come up from League One. So, well, either way, Tom, I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And I wish Cardiff well. I think you'll be fine. I think you'll stay in this division, no problem. You've had your ups and downs and trials and tribulations, and there's not 2 things that you can really put your finger on that haven't really worked for Cardiff. But it's interesting to get that insight from you, who's obviously overseen it and supported the club all your life. So, Tom, thank you very much for your time.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. That's the Rams Review podcast for this week, the preview show against Cardiff City. And we'll be recording after the show. And in the meantime, come on, you Rams.